Hello there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. The Skeleton Crew is finally over. And sometimes in cinema and TV, things come together and wrap up so neatly, and it's just nice to see. Although it can be hard to recapture the magic of seeing your first Amblin Entertainment film or Star Wars movie, the Skeleton Crew manages to mesh up these two things I love and delivers a truly enjoyable experience for kids and adults alike. As an added bonus, there's some really great themes and messages also woven into the story in a very natural way. I've always believed that this is one of the most important parts of cinema. Yes, movies are supposed to be entertaining, but they're also supposed to make us think, deliver impactful lessons. That's why movies are such a powerful medium. When your parents or the school system or society fails to teach you important life lessons, sometimes a 3-hour TV show masquerading as a kid's adventure film is there to fill in the vacuum. And I think George Lucas would have liked that because, the original Star Wars film was supposed to be more than just the movie. While Lucas was writing the first 2 drafts of Star Wars, he also reread Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, a book about human mythology and the important stories that have shaped our civilization. It made Lucas realize what was missing in his story. In every human era, in every civilization, there are stories about remarkable individuals that are passed down from one generation to another. These are individuals full of courage who slays the proverbial dragons that threatens their village. Who that individual is changes over the course of time, and even the identity of the dragon changes as well, depending on what era we're looking at. Sometimes it is an actual dragon, sometimes it's a cruel king or a barbarian horde, or maybe a bunch of greedy pirates. The hero's tale, the hero's journey is such a popular story because it is interesting, but more importantly, we celebrate truly remarkable individuals who live their life with courage and bravery. We tell these stories not because we expect everyone to slay dragons. Some of us just don't have the frame for it, but it's supposed to inspire the average person to just be, a less shittier version of themselves. Humanity, we're one great beautiful mess. We're kind of always teetering on the edge of disaster. And individuals like Lucas, who study anthropology, human history, understand just how important it is to keep the hero story in the zeitgeist of almost every era. He grew up in the midst of the Vietnam War, during the counterculture movement. Religion turned upside down. Trusted institutions like the police, the military, the government all suffered huge scandals or were exposed for their brutality and unfairness. Lucas understood that no matter what happens to humanity, no matter what we look like at the other end of this revolution, we still need our morals, our ethics, our heroes to inspire us to be the best that we can be. But a story is encased in a specific setting, in specific cultures, events, languages, and they're usually custom tailored to the audiences of that time period. If you take a look at the original Star Wars film, it was supposed to be for the late baby boomer generation and the first generation Xers. Their parents most likely had seen some crazy things. They probably survived the Great Depression, World War II, and so naturally, they saw their kids as kind of soft and self-centered. The usual shit that older generations say to younger generations. Something that never changes. And so the story Lucas crafted for this generation in the original Star Wars was all about a young kid, Luke Skywalker, leaving home, being brave, and experiencing the world for the first time. An essential part of his journey towards adulthood was understanding the power that he as an adult now wielded through the Force and fighting off the temptations of the dark side, along with also finding your own way forward. Not by worshiping the Jedi Masters of the past who trained him, but finding your own path forward. And ultimately, it was his love for his father that saved the galaxy from the Empire. I've always thought that was kind of a reminder to boomers to forgive their parents for being so stern and angry all the time because of the trauma of their own past experiences. The original trilogy is a great work of cinema. Its motifs and themes are still relevant today, but are not designed for newer generations. We all have our own unique challenges, our unique cultural trends, and of course, world events that shape each generation. I grew up with the prequels, which at its core was a story about how easily democracy could backslide towards authoritarianism when driven by fear and emotion. The Skeleton Crew, while nowhere near as epic or consequential as the original or prequel trilogies, is still full of a lot of important lessons, and it's geared towards the younger audiences. And I think, again, this is a great thing to see happen again in Star Wars. Take a look at Neil. This little blue elephant kid, he's clumsy, he's sweet, he's not all that interested in adventure, and halfway through the journey, these kids end up on an almost identical version of their planet, except everything has gone to hell. The kids on this world at Akron are very different from the kids from Manhattan. Instead of going to school, they go to war. And instead of having lessons, they learn how to fire weapons. And Neil, who has pretty much gone along with the entire adventure without too much protest because he's kind of soft, finally puts his foot down. When a warrior girl he's crushing on shows off her tribe's gigantic turbo laser.
This weapon still works from the old days. Its strength is what keeps us safe here.
This isn't fair. You shouldn't have to be at war all the time.
And in some ways, he kind of has the right idea. I mean, the war on Akron is never ending. Society is broken down and people kill each other for resources and territory, and it's sad and a horrible existence. But then again, Neil is from a sheltered world where life is as close to utopian as possible. The rules of Manhattan are very different from the rules of Akron. If you don't kill, you will be killed on this post-apocalyptic planet. The great thing about Neil is that his mere existence, his mere words are enough to inspire his warrior girlfriend to maybe fight for something more than just the defeat of her enemies. Maybe one day when she grows up and she's the leader of her clan, she'll fight for peace for her new empire. But what I really appreciate about Neil's arc is in the finale, when the evil pirates finally attack Manhattan, it's Neil who remembers that Manhattan also probably has a gigantic turbo laser on its school roof. And even though he is kind of the pacifist of the group, he ends up being the one who uses the heavy artillery to do some serious damage. I appreciate this not only because the writers of the show are clearly very thorough with their writing and they reward audiences for paying attention, but I'm also appreciative of the lesson itself. That we can have ideologies and beliefs like Neil's pacifism, but we can't just blindly follow these ideas and have them direct the course of every one of our actions. We need to be present in the moments that we're in when we have to make these decisions. Yes, Neil hates violence, but his friends need help to save their planet. So even though he doesn't like violence or turbo lasers, he's willing to change his mind. And that's what growing up is all about. It's about testing your beliefs in real-life situations, in moments of great danger and crisis. It's about adapting and understanding that there's a lot of nuance in the world, and sometimes the beliefs you held are childish and naive and were formed before you had a clear understanding of how the world actually worked. Growing up is not about arriving to some final form. It's about coming to the peace with the fact that you're always changing as a person depending on your experiences and what you learn. And more importantly, we learned that while these kids have grown up by the season finale, they're also able to turn around and teach their own parents a thing or two about being grown up as well. And watching Wim's dad jump that gap on a hover bike and celebrate might seem childish. But I assure you there's nothing more childish than going through your entire life thinking that you should abandon all enjoyment in life just because you now are an adult and have responsibilities. And while that final battle in the supervisor tower has, the vibe of a parent-teacher conference gone wrong, this is a TV show with kids in it after all. But the Skeleton Crew has remained entertaining this entire time, not because the stakes are high or because of the violence, but because of the overall mystery of Manhattan, which is so unique and unexpected, but also the mystery surrounding Jod Nanawood, portrayed by the exceedingly talented Jude Law. I mean, he essentially is just messing with everyone this entire time. The pirates, the children, the people of Manhattan, us, the audience. We actually only see small shades of this character's true self a few times, like that time when he's trying to desperately board the Onyx Cinder as X-Wings are bearing down on their location.
The truth is, I'm just like you, okay? I'm lost, I'm alone.
And then there's that fleeting look of almost longing as Jod watches Fern and Wim escape with their loving parents. Something that he unfortunately never got to experience. I'd like to think that in another timeline, maybe Jod doesn't try to kidnap the kids and steal all the treasure and just takes them back to Manhattan and they invite him to stay there, so he can live a peaceful life or something. But Yeah, clearly not this Jod. And then there's the final scene with Jod standing there in the supervisor's tower watching his frigate, which once was his pride and joy, go down in flames. You can see the horror in his expression, but then he kind of looks away slightly to the side as if he remembers something. Is it shame for what he did? Does he feel bad for himself? It only lasts a second. Then we see a slight smile appear along with resolve in his eyes. This man is clearly not done fighting, and he's thinking of a new way to escape. You know, Jod Nanoud has become one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. I mean, I knew that, you know, Jude Law in Star Wars was going to be amazing. I'm not disappointed at all. But yeah, there's something about his character that just really appeals to me. The kind of moral grayness, the lack of clarity of what he actually wants. It makes him quite intriguing. But unfortunately, the Skeleton Crew got terrible viewership, guys. I mean, like, it got worse numbers than Andor, another show that was excellent, and unfortunately, I think just didn't get that much exposure. Maybe in the long run, more people will watch it. I don't know. But this most likely means we're not going to have a second season. And that's a shame because really the writing, the visual effects, the action, the character arcs with the children, the excellent performances all around, and the interesting side characters like SM-33, the twists and turns, you know, all of these individual elements makes this one of the most complete Star Wars entries I've seen in a long time. But yeah, it's a real shame. It's a real shame that shows like Kenobi get relit because, you know, we have nostalgia for these characters. And I just have to say, you know, Kenobi is my favorite Jedi. I don't like the Jedi, but Obi-Wan Kenobi I've always loved. I love Ewan McGregor. But yeah, that show, objectively, was just not very well executed. Andor and Skeleton Crew really raised the bar of what we should expect from Star Wars. But yeah. Anyway, no need to get too upset about stuff like this. Completely out of our control. And it's just a fictional franchise. There's more important battles to be fought in the real world. But you know, if you haven't seen the Skeleton Crew and you've been watching all my reviews, I do recommend you check it out. I mean, it's kind of geared for children, but there is something there for adults. It's not just like dumb stuff happening, silly, goofy stuff happening without a reason. If you actually pay close attention, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the background that come up again and again in the story. But yeah, overall, very, very good TV show. And if you have kids, you should definitely watch it with them. I think it's really built for that specifically. Well, guys, thanks for enjoying the Skeleton Crew with me. My name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you guys next time.